What's up, YouTube family? It's Andrea here at VW Family Farm. Welcome back to the greenhouse. Welcome back to the homestead. I just wanted to spend a few minutes with y'all this morning or this afternoon, whenever you're watching this, talking to you about something that I've been thinking a lot about lately. It seems like everywhere I go, things I read or conversations I'm having with people just come back to this. And when that continues to happen to me, it's happened before, it starts to make me think, you know what, maybe I need to share that with someone. Maybe someone else is thinking along those same lines. So this stems from some things I've read, some conversations I've had. So y'all are getting to see a glimpse into some of my thoughts and things. So what I wanted to talk to y'all about today is how different we all are. There's so many ways we're different I started to think about calling this video how we're different as moms, and then I thought, well, not all of us are moms, and I thought, well, maybe as wives, and then I thought, you know what, we're not even all wives, and then I thought, you know what, just as women, and then I got to thinking, there's men here too, so maybe just how we're all different just in general as human beings. So mainly my thoughts were about women, but this could apply to men as well, or even your kids, or just whatever. So a few of the things I've been thinking about is just ways that we are different as women and just people in general, that neither one of which these things I'm going to name are wrong. They're just different. And then sometimes we put ourselves on a high horse and we judge other people because they're not just like us, and when they're not wrong either. They're just different, and we're not taking the time to look into their situation and see where they're coming from. And some of the things I thought of were like homeschooling your kids versus public school, or moms that work or wives versus ones that stay home, or dads that work versus stay home, because there's stay-at-home dads these days too. Also, some other ways we're different. A lot of us are married, a lot of us are single. Some of us are artsy, and some of us are just more practical thinkers, and we're more on, like, even take for instance the garden. I've told y'all before, I don't necessarily think of the beauty of the garden as much as I think of, now it is beautiful to me, but I think of the production that it's gonna bring for me to can and preserve food and all those things. But then my friend Jess over at Roots and Refuge, when I see her videos or I actually go to her house, and she's got hers laid out for more for beauty, then I start thinking, man, that's awesome too. So she makes me think a little bit differently than I'm just geared to think, and that's a great thing. That's what friends do. Also, there's people that these days they call themselves minimalists, or they've been named that. There's been people like this throughout all of time, that lots of things and junk and just things sitting around and all that bothers them. And then there's other people that love to collect those things. They love to have all the gadgets in the kitchen and in the house. So I mean, neither one of those is really inherently wrong. They're just completely different. There's people that keep their house so OCD clean that their family's afraid to even move. And then there's people on the other end of the spectrum that hardly ever clean their house, and their house is so just warm and inviting and lived in because they're not stressed about anything. Now here's where I want to stop for a minute and confess to y'all for a second. I have been almost all of those things I just named to you. I've been the messy housekeeper that people could walk into my house at any time and I could care less if they took their shoes off or what shape my house was in when they left. I've been the other end of the spectrum where I finally had a new house, and it was small, but it was new, and it was just the most glorious thing I'd ever had. And I was so OCD about keeping it clean and swept that when Ben would come in with his shoes on, he felt like I was just glaring at him for keeping his shoes on. So I've been on both ends. I've been single, I've been married, I've been a public school mom and a homeschool mom, I've worked, I've stayed home. I've done almost all of those. But none of those really was who I was, I guess, is what the point I'm trying to get across. And some of the conversations that I've had with people lately were about how when we were younger, we wanted to be skinnier, or we wanted to be this or that, all relating to like how your body looks. And that now that we've gotten a little bit older and we have teenage daughters, we realize there's so much more to life than that, and those things that we worried about back then that now that our teenage daughters are faced with just by nature of being a teenage girl are just so not important, and we're so glad that we're not different than what God made us to be. So my point in telling you all of this, you're probably like, wow, what is she even talking about? Is to just embrace who you are. I think as we get a little bit older, some people figure it out at a younger age, but for me it took a little bit longer to really figure out at the core who I am. And since we've gotten this farm and I'm homeschooling the kids and we're growing food and all that, it just feels like this is what I was meant to do. Now hard work does not bother me because I enjoy it. I'm doing what I love. And even if right now you're not doing exactly what your dream job or what you want to be doing is, just embrace it as where you're at right now. We have friends that the wife is having to go back to work for different reasons. Maybe that's not what they plan or what they want to do long term, but it's just what's necessary for right now. And so I just call on you, and I'm calling on myself too. All these videos I put out like this are because this is what I've been pondering on. Whatever it is you're struggling with that you know is what you should be doing right now, but you feel like it's kind of stepping out of the box a little bit, and maybe it's not really what other people around you are expecting. Maybe it's going to shock them a little bit if you go back to work, or if you decide to stay home with your kids, or if you decide that it's best for you right now to send the kids back to school, or maybe it's best for you right now to pull the kids out of school. I don't know what it is, but whatever it is, if you feel like it's stepping out of the box a little bit, step out of that box. I just encourage you to get out of the box, quit trying to be what you feel like everyone expects you to be, and do what you feel called to do. I truly believe that the Lord calls us to certain things, and until we do those things that He's calling us to, we're gonna kind of feel a little bit of a struggle because we're not giving in. We're trying to hold on to our own will. But then when you finally do, and I don't know why it's so hard because I struggle with it too, when you finally do that thing and you step out of the box, you realize the box was so boring. You don't ever want to go back to the box because you're on the outside of the box and you can see that that box was just not for me. And now that I'm out of it, I feel so confident. I'm so full of joy. Yes, it was hard, whatever that thing was, but it was so worth it. So I just encourage you, step out of that box. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's a new job you're feeling called to take. Maybe it's you're wanting to buy that few acres so you can start homesteading. Whatever the case may be, I have no idea. Maybe you're wanting to talk to that person you haven't talked to in forever and you feel awkward about it, but you want to mend that fence. I have no idea, but step out of it. Don't compare yourself to others. If you're the artsy person, don't try to make yourself the practical person. If you're the minimalist, don't try to make yourself just go buy a bunch of kitchen gadgets just because so-and-so said you need to. Own who you are and be who you are. Step out of that box, and I promise you that there is so much I can't even think of the word. There's so much liberty in that, just stepping out of the box and finding yourself. And I also encourage you, just like at the beginning of the video when I was talking about the stay-at-home mom versus the working mom versus the public school versus the homeschool, all those things, those are all just things. Don't get caught up in comparing yourself or being the one doing the judging and comparing of others, because you never know why that woman is working. She might really want to be home, but circumstances have it she has to be. Or I just call on us just not to judge each other. Let's just give each other grace. Just like the Lord has given us grace, let's pass that on to each other. As here it is about to be gardening season, and I know a lot of us on here garden, or we have a desire to, or we're interested in it. Whatever your situation, if you're gardening for the first time in pots sitting on an apartment balcony, or you're building your first raised bed, or maybe you're expanding to that huge market garden this year. I don't know what your situation is, but just own it and don't compare yourself to others. When you see people posting pictures of the thousands of seeds they've bought, or the huge garden they're going to plant, or whatever, and yours is small, own that small garden. That's awesome. I'm so proud of each and every one of you. You send me pictures, you tag us on Facebook and Instagram, and I'm gonna tell you, I've told y'all before, but I'm gonna repeat it in this video because it's so true. Those of you who are doing it where you are, wherever that may be, and it's a lot of you that are doing it where you are, it's so totally out of the box. You are growing on apartment balconies or in apartments or whatever the case may be. You're so super inspiring to us, because if I was where you are, I would hope that I had the think out of the box kind of mentality to do what you're doing. So own it. I don't care if your garden is tiny or huge. I don't care if you're raising meat chickens for the first time and you have no clue what you're doing, or if you've done it 100 times and you're going bigger and better this year, or you're just dedicating yourself to this lifestyle, or whatever the case may be. Own it, be who you are, and give others the grace to be who they are. And just like I said the other day, be a good neighbor. Look for chances to help others out along the way, and even if it's just an encouraging word. I will see you guys later. I thank you for spending a few minutes this Monday morning with me. I hope you have an awesome day and an awesome week, and I will see y'all later. God bless.